I never thought a simple family dinner could shatter everything I believed about love and loyalty. But that's exactly what happened that night in the heart of Montana's Big Sky Country. My name is Emily, and this is my story, the one where I finally stood up to the people who tried to break me, but in the end, found a way to heal us all. It all started 3 years ago when I met Jack at a rodeo in Billings. He was charming, with that easy Western smile and eyes that sparkled like the Yellowstone River under the sun. I was just a data analyst from a small ranch family in Wyoming, scraping by on hard work and grit. Jack came from old money. His folks owned half the oil fields in the Bakken Formation, plus a sprawling ranch outside Bozeman that looked like something out of a Hollywood Western. His dad, Henry, was a booming oil baron, and his mom, Margaret, was the queen of high society fundraisers, always dripping in turquoise jewelry and designer boots. From the get-go, they saw me as an intruder. "You're punchin' above your weight, darlin'," Henry once drawled at our engagement party, slapping Jack on the back like I wasn't even there. The party was at their massive log mansion, with antler chandeliers and views of the Rockies that could make you weep. Guests in Stetson hats and pearl snap shirts mingled, sipping whiskey that cost more than my truck. Margaret air-kissed my cheek without touching it, her eyes flicking over my simple sundress like it was thrift store trash. "How rustic," she said, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. That night, after the guests left, they pulled us into Henry's study, a room lined with leather-bound books on land rights and stuffed elk heads staring down like judges. Henry slid a thick prenup across the desk. "Just protectin' the family spread," he said, no warmth in his eyes. Jack protested. "Dad, we don't need this." "Emily's not like that." But Margaret chimed in. "It's just smart ranchin', honey. Any gal worth her salt would understand." I read every page, clauses about the oil royalties, the cattle herds, the mineral rights I'd never touch. It screamed, "You ain't one of us." I signed it without a fuss. "I'm Maureen, Jack, not your bankroll," I said calmly. Their jaws dropped. They'd expected a fight to prove I was a gold digger. Instead, I flipped their script, but it only made em madder. The wedding was beautiful, a sunset ceremony on their ranch with wildflowers and a country band, but the honeymoon phase ended quick. The digs started small, like barbs in a barbed wire fence. At our first family barbecue, I brought my mama's famous bison chili. Margaret accidentally knocked over the pot, splattering it across my new boots. "Oh, sugar. I'm clumsier than a newborn colt," she cooed. But her eyes danced. Henry grunted. "That's what you get with cheap cookware. Falls apart like wet cardboard." The chili wasn't cheap. It was family tradition. I smiled through it, but inside, it stung. Then came Jack's birthday blowout. They gifted him a shiny new Ford F-450 truck, decked out with all the bells and whistles, parked under a balloon arch. Henry boomed a speech about a real man's ride for upholdin' the family name. For me, a $20 gift card to Walmart. "Somethin' for your little kitchen setup," he winked, while their oil buddy friends chuckled. I felt like a hired hand, not a wife. Jack squeezed my hand, whisperin' apologies. But the damage piled up. The worst was last year, during a weekend at the ranch. Margaret's prized sapphire necklace, a family heirloom from her grandma's pioneer days, vanished from her dresser. She didn't point fingers outright, but oh, she played it up. Signed dramatically in every room I entered, whisperin' to Henry about trustin' outsiders with family treasures. Jack exploded. "How dare you imply Emily took it?" But the air turned toxic. Next mornin', she waltzed in wearin' it. Slipped behind the nightstand. Silly me.
No, sorry. No notin.
That cracked something in me. Jack's love was real. But his folks were a storm I couldn't outrun alone. I had to saddle up and face him. The turning point came at a Sunday brunch on their porch, overlooking the pastures. Margaret mused about their 45th anniversary. We deserve something grand, like dinner at the Summit. The Summit was legendary, a steakhouse in downtown Bozeman, where governors and celebrities dined on aged Wagyu and views of the Bridger Mountains. Reservations were rarer than rain in the desert. You needed connections deeper than an oil well. Her eyes locked on mine. Emily, you're so resourceful with those computer skills. Why don't you snag us a table? Our treat. Naturally. It was a setup make me fail and look small. Jack tensed.
Mom.
That's impossible. Let's just grill steaks here. But I cut in. I'd love to handle it. They blinked, then smirked, thinking I'd crash and burn. Back home, I didn't beg for a spot. I dusted off an old photo album. There was my dad, smilin' in his baker's apron, standin' with a young chef outside a tiny diner in Cody, Wyoming. Dad had loaned that chef startup cash from his savings, no strings. Just pay it forward someday. That chef? Now Mr. Harlan, owner of the Summit. I called him Mr. Harlan. This is Emily, Tom's daughter. Silence. Then a warm chuckle. I've owed your pa debt for decades. What can I do? I got the reservation easy. Next brunch. I slid the confirmation card across the table. Henry snatched it, blusterin'. Well, hot damn. My name must have carried weight, but their eyes flashed fury. I'd stolen their thunder. In the weeks before the dinner, their sweetness turned suspicious, like a rattler coiled to strike. Margaret called with friendly chats about the menu, hinting at the sky-high prices. Henry texted articles on extravagant eats, joking about, hope your wallet's ready. I knew they were plotting. Order big. Fake forgetting their cards. Watch me squirm. But I had my own plan brewing. I called Mr. Harlan again. They're gunning for me, I confessed, spillin' the years of slights. He listened, then said, your dad taught me kindness builds empires. Let's turn this around. Make it a lesson, not a war. We crafted something special, a heritage menu, where the bill became a donation to a local charity, legally bound by Montana law. It'd hit em where it hurt, but open a door for change. The night arrived. The Summit glowed under string lights, smellin' of mesquite smoke and fresh leather. Henry barreled in, hollerin' about the decor. Margaret scanned the room like a hawk. Jack looked uneasy, but I felt steady as a mountain. We settled into a private booth overlooking the twinkling city lights and distant peaks. The menus were like artifacts, bound in cowhide, leased in dishes with prices that could buy a horse. Henry didn't glance at his. Fetch us your finest bourbon. The one aged longer than the state, he barked at the sommelier. When the price was mentioned, eye-waterin', he waved it off. We're not pinchin' pennies tonight.
Son.
They ramped it up. Orderin' with flair meant to crush me. Oysters flown from the Pacific, drizzled with truffle oil. A foie gras pâté that Margaret insisted was the most exclusive. Henry went for the Kobe beef steak, crusted in sea salt from some remote Utah mine, topped with gold flakes. Is this your priciest cut? He boomed, patting my hand. Don't fret the tab, darlin'. Tonight, you taste the high life. His touch felt slimy, like oil slickin' a creek. Margaret chose the king crab legs, massive things harvested from Alaskan waters that mornin'. With each order, They'd glance at me, expectant panic. Jack tried intervening. Dad, ease up, that's overkill. But Henry shot him down.
Boy.
We're celebrating. Let Emily enjoy. I stayed quiet, sippin' water, watchin' em dig their hole. Inside, I tallied every excess for the reckoning. Dessert was a spectacle. Chocolate torte with edible flowers and spun sugar shaped like a lasso. Finally, the meal ended. Henry leaned back, belching contentedly. Margaret dabbed her lips. This was their moment. Mr. Harlan approached, holding a sleek black folder, the bill.
He placed it before me.
Henry gestured grandly. Open her up. Show the damage. Mr. Harlan flipped it open, revealing the total, $120,000. Henry's eyes bulged. Then he erupted in laughter, slapping the table so hard the silverware jumped. That's a knee slapper, Emily. We plumb forgot our wallets and cards back at the ranch. Must have been the excitement. Margaret joined in, her cackle sharp as a coyote's howl. They watched me, waiting for tears, for the humiliation to hit like a stampede. The restaurant hushed, diners in cowboy hats and suits turned. But I didn't flinch. My hand steady. I took a sip of water, set the glass down with a click. No worries, I said calmly. It's already handled. I figured you'd pull this. Their laughter choked off. Henry's face twisted. What in tarnation? Handled how? Margaret leaned in, eyes narrow. You knew. I turned to Mr.
Harlan.
Would you explain the heritage menu to my in-laws? He nodded, voice smooth as aged whiskey. Certainly.
Mom.
Addressing Henry and Margaret, he said, everything you ordered tonight, the bourbon, the Kobe, the crab, is part of our exclusive heritage menu. It's not just a meal, it's a commitment. Under Montana statute for charitable events, the full amount is a binding donation to the local children's hospital, the one your oil company claims to support, though records show 0 contributions in 5 years. Margaret gasped, color draining from her face. Henry sputtered, this is hogwash. We ain't donatin' a dime, Mr. Harlan held firm. Sir, by ordering from this menu, which I confirmed with you thrice, you've agreed to the terms. It's legal, witnessed, and non-refundable. The funds transfer at dawn. The room buzzed. Whispers from nearby tables carried words like hypocrites and about time. Henry's bluster faded. He looked deflated, like a punctured tire. Margaret clutched her napkin, eyes welling up, real tears this time. How could you afford this setup? She whispered venomously. You're nothing. I met her gaze. That's where you're mistaken. That prenup you shoved at me? It lit a fire. I couldn't lean on your fortune.
So I built mine.
For 2 years. I've run a tech firm analyzing oil data, helping companies like yours avoid busts. It's thrivin', but I paused, softening. This wasn't just revenge, Mr. Harlan and I had planned a humane twist. Speaking of business, I continued, pulling a folder from my bag. I heard your company hit rough waters last month, bad drill investment, near bankruptcy. Then an anonymous investor bailed you out. I slid the paper over. A shareholder report showing my firm held 25%, not controlling, but significant. That was me. Not to own you, but to save jobs on the ranch and in the fields. Henry stared at the document, hands trembling. Margaret's tears fell freely. The arrogance crumbled, revealing scared folks clinging to status. Jack, who'd been silent, squeezed my hand. His eyes held shock.
Pride.
And grief. Emily. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. I had to handle it my way. But for us. The lesson hit. Henry cleared his throat.
We
been fools. Thought you were after our spread. Margaret nodded. Voice breaking. We were wrong. Scared of losing what we built. I felt a pang. They weren't monsters. Just products of a hardscrabble West where trust came slow. We didn't storm out. Instead, something shifted in that booth. The weight of years lifted, but not in triumph, in quiet reckoning. Henry looked at me. Really looked. For the first time. Emily, we done you wrong. That prenup. The spills. The slights, it was fear. We built this empire from nothing. Scratching in the dirt during the oil busts. Thought anyone knew was a threat. Margaret dabbed her eyes. I was jealous. Honey, you got that fire we lost long ago. Jack spoke up. Voice steady. This stops now. We're family. Or we're nothing, mister. Harlan, Sunsin the moment, added. The donation's set. But it's a fresh start. Your company's name on that hospital wing could rebuild your rep. Henry nodded slowly. Reckon it's time we actually gave back. Instead of just jawing about it. We talked, really talked, for the first time. I shared my roots. Growing up on a windswept Wyoming ranch. Learning resilience from parents who lost everything in a drought but kept going. Kindness ain't weakness, I said. My dad taught me that when he helped Mr. Harlan. Henry shared his story. Immigrating from Oklahoma as a kid. Working rigs till his hands bled. Building the company to protect his kin. But we protected too hard. Pushed folks away. By dessert's end, we ordered coffee. No frills, laughter returned. Genuine this time. Not at me, but with me. Henry joked about the bill. Well, that's one way to lighten the wallet for a good cause. Margaret admitted. I ruined that bag on purpose. I'm sorry. Truly. Apologies flowed like the wind stream. Leaving the summit. The night air crisp with pine scent. Jack pulled me close. You could have crushed him, but you chose mercy. I smiled. Revenge burns out quick. Forgiveness builds fences that last. We drove back to the ranch under a star-studded sky. The Rockies silhouetted like silent guardians. The next months brought change. The donation made headlines. Oil Baron family funds hospital wing after lavish dinner. Henry and Margaret attended the groundbreaking, shaken hands with kids who'd benefit. Their company started real philanthropy, scholarships for ranch kids, environmental cleanups in drill sites. Legal? All above board. Montana's charity laws backed the menu ploy. Tinin a prank into progress. At home, things warmed. Margaret invited me for cooking lessons, her venison stew mix in with my chili. Henry consulted my tech firm on data for sustainable drilling, respectin' my smarts. Jack and I grew stronger, planning our own family someday. But the real lesson? In the West, where land's vast and hearts can harden like clay, vulnerability opens trails. They learned humility. I learned compassion. We all won. Yet, echoes lingered. One evening, sitting on the porch watching the sun dip behind the Absarokas,
Henry turned to me.
Emily, you saved more than the company. You saved us from ourselves. I nodded. We all did. Life rolled on like the Missouri River, twists and turns, but flowing forward. Jack and I bought a small spread nearby. Blend in our worlds. The in-laws visited often. No more games. The story became family lore, the dinner that could have divided us, but united instead. Looking back, that $120,000 bill was the best investment. It bought not just a hospital wing, but a bridge over troubled waters. In the end, kindness outrides cruelty every time. After the revelation, we delved deeper into past hurts. I recounted the birthday gift card sting. It made me feel like the hired help, not family. Margaret winced. We were testing you. Wrongly. Thought if you snapped, it'd prove our fears. Henry admitted the necklace stunt. That was low, even for us. We wanted Jack to see you as untrustworthy. Jack interjected. But it backfired, showed me your true colors. We discussed the prenup's irony. It pushed me to succeed independently, I said. My firm now partners with yours ethically. Henry chuckled ruefully. Smartest move we never meant to make. As the night wore on, other diners approached, old friends of Henry's. Congratulating the generous donation. Embarrassment turned to pride. Mr. Harlan comped the coffee, whispering to me, your dad'd be proud. Driving home, Jack said, I'm in awe. You turned poison into medicine. I replied, had to for our future. The humane end wasn't planned initially. Rage fueled the setup. But seeing their vulnerability,
Chose grâce.
Legally, the donation was ironclad via event waivers they agreed to implicitly, no loopholes in Big Sky law. Change wasn't overnight. First visits were awkward, like breaking a wild Mustang. But shared rides through the pastures, talkin' ranch life, built bonds. Margaret taught me quiltin'. I showed her data apps for cattle trackin'. Henry and Jack bonded over fixin' fences, literal and figurative. The light lesson? In America's West, where self-reliance is king, leanin' on others makes you stronger. We learned family ain't about blood or bankrolls. It's about choosin' kindness over conquest. With the dust settled from that fateful dinner, our lives took on a new rhythm, like a river finned in its course after a flood. The Children's Hospital thrived with the funds. Headlines praised the unexpected philanthropy from Henry's oil empire. It sparked a chain. Other tycoons donated. Turning one prank into a movement. Legally spotless, the Heritage menu was registered as a charitable auction equivalent, with disclosures buried in the fine print they ignored in their greed. But the real transformation was personal. Margaret, once a thorny cactus, bloomed. She volunteered at the hospital, reading to kids in her cowboy boots and pearls. These little ones remind me what's real, she'd say, eyes soft. Henry revamped his company, ethical drillin' practices, hirin' locals like my kin. My tech firm consulted, mergin' our worlds, data-driven sustainability that boosted profits and preserved the land. Jack and I flourished. We hiked the trails around our new homestead. Talkin' dreams. You showed me strength ain't just standin' tall, it's liftin' others, he said one sunset. Our love deepened, unburdened by family shadows. Yet, scars remained. At a family barbecue, no spills this time, old tensions flickered. Henry joked about the bill. We laughed. But I saw Margaret's fleeting guilt. We almost lost you, she confessed later. Over coffee. Pride blinded us. I hugged her. But we found our way back. The humane pivot? Instead of crucian, with control, I offered partnership. That 25% stake became collaborative, joint decisions on community projects. It taught power shared multiplies. One crisp fall day, we all gathered for a trail ride. Hooves clatterin' on rocky paths. Wind whippin' through aspens tinnin' gold. Henry reined in his horse beside mine. Emily, you could have taken it all. Why mercy? I replied. 'Cause hate's a heavy saddle. Kindness lightens the load. He nodded. A tear glintin'. Your pa raised you right, Evenings by the fire pit. Sharon stories, their pioneer ancestors. My ranch roots wove us tighter. Jack announced we were expectant. Cheers erupted. Margaret teared up. A grandbaby, fresh start. The mystery element lingered. How I'd pulled it off. Friends asked. I smiled mysteriously. Connections from kindness. It echoed the Trin Tam vibe, uncovering motives, plots and twists, but resolving with heart. Socially, it resonated with American audiences, the underdog rising, family drama in the rugged West, where justice wears boots.
Nobillains banquisha just humans howling.
As winter snow blanketed the mountains, peace settled. The lesson? In life's drama, revenge tempts, but redemption endures. We chose the latter, building a legacy worth passing on. Reflections on change dynamics. Jack and I hosted holidays. Henry grilled steaks humbly. Margaret gifted me a real turquoise necklace. Family heirloom. Truly yours. Legal clarity. No fraud. As the menu was optional but selected, their orders confirmed consent under state contract law. Community impact. The hospital named a wing after the family. Draw in positive press. Henry's rep soared. Business boomed ethically. Personal growth. I mentored young women in tech. Sharon, my story minus details. Turn slights into spurs, I'd say. Jack's perspective. He wrote me a letter. You didn't just win, you healed. It framed our home. The end in arc. A year later, at their 46th anniversary, a simple ranch picnic.
No pranks.
Just gratitude. Henry toasted. To Emily, who taught us families about heart, not holdings. We clinked glasses under the stars. The West's vastness reminding us of humility. As the season cycled in Montana's wild beauty, our story became a quiet legend among friends, the dinner that could have ended a family, but reborn it instead. The humane conclusion wasn't easy. Forgiving took more grit than fightin'. But it paid off in ways revenge never could. Legally, everything held water. The heritage menu complied with IRS charitable deduction rules and Montana's event contract statutes. No coercion. Just clever opt-in. Henry's lawyers reviewed. Grudging admiration followed.
Ironclad, they said.
Culturally, it fit the Western ethos. Self-made success. Community over conquest. American audiences connected. Underdog tales with heart. Like a modern Western flick minus the shootout. Daily life normalized with warmth. Mornings. Jack and I tended our garden. Plant-in roots literal and figural. The in-laws helped with the baby prep. Margaret knitted blankets. Henry built a crib from ranch wood. For the little buckaroo, he grinned. Flashbacks haunted less. The old slights, gravy on boots, gift card jabs, became anecdotes we laughed at. Lessons learned. We were blind as bats in daylight, Margaret admitted. The light article, kindness ripples farther than cruelty. In social psychology terms, it broke the cycle of resentment. Fostering empathy. Drama resolved not in destruction, but dialogue. One spring evening, we all sat round a bonfire, roasting marshmallows. Stars wheeled overhead, coyotes howling distant. Henry shared a vulnerability. Losing the company scared me more than any dry well. But you savon it, with grace, showed me true strength. I replied. We all drill deep sometimes, hittin' water instead of oils the win. Jack held our newborn daughter. Eyes misty. Named her after your ma. Emily, hope and resilience. Margaret cooed. She's got your fire. The circle completed, from division to unity. Looking ahead. Our legacy, a family business merger. Blendin' oil and tech for green energy. Charity continued. Annual dinners funded causes. In the end, that shocking prank led to an unexpected bond. The West taught us, storms pass, mountains endure. So do families, when built on forgiveness. The moral: light as a breeze, hold grudges, and you sink, let go, and you soar.
We chose to fly.